Yes. Welcome back to Chrissy Bowl TV. We are in the building. You guys know what the deal is. It's time to get that fresh haircut. LFC vibes in the barbershop settings. Big up to Redbird. Big up to Brian. I see y'all. Thank you so much for joining. And everybody else in the chat, please like, subscribe, and share. Get us to that 200 number. Thank you. Guys, today I have a few things that I would like to talk about. Of course, we're going to be discussing it. I named this Club Talk because it's all about the club today, right? So LFC Vibes is all about LFC talking points. Few things that I would like to talk about. Maybe contracts. I know VVD, Trent, and Club have been murmured around the fan sphere. So I would like to discuss that. But most importantly, I would like to talk about Luis Diaz, because since the Derby, he's been catching flack, and I think we need to discuss what are people saying. Is it fair? Is it fair criticism, or is it just people are over criticizing it? Because there is a lot of context that needs to be brought in. You can't just say he's not playing well. Why do you think he's not playing well? What are the reasons? Has his job been asked? He's being asked to do something different. Is he doing what everybody thought he's supposed to do when he first came to Liverpool? Or has it changed? Has the manager said, hey, I don't want you to be doing all this stuff that you used to do. From now on, this is what I want you to do. Anybody ask that question? I don't know why all of a sudden everybody wants to talk about Diaz. What does he do for the club if he's not scoring a goal? What do you mean? What do you want him to do? What exactly is Liverpool fans asking Diaz to do? Is what you, the fan, asking, is it aligned to the managers? Or you just want to see Diaz play a certain way and it's not aligning with your agenda, keyword agenda, and all of a sudden Diaz does not provide anything else? Also, this conversation is going to bring out a lot of things from, not Diaz only. There's a couple players that we need to ask the same question about them, not just the player that you feel like, we're going to have an agenda or we have questions. No. This is how the agenda starts. People are already starting to do the player FC instead of looking at the club FC. I've been listening to a lot of LFC content creators between Saturday and today about their concern of Diaz, Konate, what's his name, Tsimikas. And every single one of them just want these players to start playing like we were playing in the 2016, 17, 2018, 19, those type of years that we were killing everybody. So the question is, you are the same people that wanted a rebuild. What kind of rebuild were you guys looking for? How fast do you want this rebuild to take shape? That's my question. So we will start with Diaz. Apparently, Diaz is not the same player that everybody's been watching on YouTube FC or YouTube University. When he first came to Liverpool, he was doing some things and everybody was very excited about it. Exactly. Diaz, from day one, has always been a maverick. Now, we have these Liverpool fans, and especially, it's not just Liverpool fans, there's also fandom itself that when a player comes to a club, they are assuming because this player plays on this side of the field, on this position, he is directly the replacement of the player that was there before, especially if they are in love with the player who was there before, right? So, for instance, Diaz comes to Liverpool and everybody's worried because everybody's assuming he's going to take Mane's position. When Diaz came in, Mane was not Mane anymore. Don't forget that. Bobby was having a dip in form. So what did Mane do? Mane changed the style he plays. Mane figured a way to adjust into the system, which is club system, and started doing the things that Bobby was doing. So that gave space to Diaz to be able to come in, right? What was the criticism that people were giving Diaz when he first came to Liverpool? The same, that half of a season that he played, the criticism that he got from Liverpool fans. Now everybody's watching on YouTube talking about what happened to this Diaz, what happened to that Diaz. Remember, everybody was like, well, he's not dropping back to help like Mane was doing. He's not scoring goals like Mane was doing. He's not taking players on like Mane was doing. All these lists, laundry list of things that Liverpool fans who were worried that he would take the shine away from Mane started the agenda. So my question is, again, what are you guys looking for from Diaz? I will wait. Brian or Redbird, anybody in the chat, give me answers, because it's starting to, people are always talking without even giving the answers that they are asking. All right. And before we continue, of course, we got our great panel, our man, the stats man. He's here for some trim, even though he already got some trim on Sunday. So we're going to hook him up again, as always. Our boy, of man, he's in the build. Say what's up to the people, my man. Say what's up.
What's up? Let me first off start saying, let me say pause.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
But hilarious. all good. Yes. I'm back in the barbershop to get a touch.
Welcome to the barbershop. Welcome to the barbershop. Brian, if you're available, man, I sent you the link, so come through.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely and I need a barbershop visit. Yeah. Despite the long hair, I did need a barbershop visit.
What's up?
To say the least.
No, I mean, today, right, the show, I have it as Club Talk,
Okay. Good.
We need to talk, because I'm starting to see the agendas creeping up, because Liverpool fans, when they see us we start doing good, all of a sudden it's not the club anymore. It become a splinter team, right? It become the Player FC.
Yeah.
When we're winning, it's Salah, Mane, Bobby, Virgil, Trent. And then, everybody hates what does Henderson does on the team? What does Gini does for the team? Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, I'm Mane FC, so I hate Salah FC people supporting the same club, right?
Yep.
So now everybody's like, okay, Liverpool looks good. They could potentially challenge. We could win some trophies. And then guess what? We start again. Player FC. So boss like, oh my God, McAllister, we thank God that we don't have Milner and Henderson and Fab and all those stuff.
Right.
Now, guess who they're starting to target? Konate.
They're targeting my boy Diaz. They're targeting this guy.
And then, of course, Diaz, which I have started the Diaz conversation. So I have questions that maybe you could answer for me. I know Brian is in the chat trying to help me out here, but I hear a lot of people asking questions about what does Diaz brought to the team if he doesn't score. Gosh. So now
I'm in the barbershop trying to chill. You're trying to.
This is. We're not going to spend too much time today, but we got to hit on, because I'm hearing a lot of LFC fan content creators asking questions that they don't even have the answer for.
Right.
You see what I mean? When we last year, okay, let's start, right? Diaz came in, and this is where I left it off. When Diaz came to Liverpool, what happened? Everybody was worried. The Mane FC people, oh my God, he's going to take money, because Mane was not even Mane anymore, right?
Right.
So everybody was worried that he's going to take Mane's spot. But what does Mane do? Mane reinvent himself and challenges Bobby. At the time, Bobby's form had dipped. Bobby was injury prone at the time. So what does Mane do? He becomes a middle, right?
Right.
Diaz does his thing. What was the first question that everybody was asking Diaz? Oh, he doesn't track back. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't score enough goal like Mane. He doesn't do this like Mane. Blah, blah, blah like Mane. Guess what now people are doing? People are going to YouTube, taking that video clip of the half season that Diaz gave us that when he first came to Liverpool.
Okay.
Praising it. The same people who criticize him, praising that Diaz, now using it to criticize Diaz himself again because he doesn't do the same thing after two big knee injuries.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird that they would do that.
And I'm sitting there be like, what are you looking for from Diaz? Because if you know what you're looking from Diaz, then you could answer the question why that's not happening. Number one, since Diaz got there, Klopp has been trying to change the way he plays. Diaz has always been a Maverick, right? He's been trying to change. And of course, I see Brian is coming in with heat. He got heat. No, bring the violence, Brian, because we got to talk about this today. Klopp has been trying to change Diaz's style of play since he got there. Diaz gets injured in the beginning of last season. People forget. This is the annoying part. People forget that last season before he got injured, he was the best player in the club.
Absolutely. Before Partey
hurt him.
Before Partey did the WWE move,
he was the best player in the team.
Easily.
Look at how much it affected Liverpool when he was not playing for that so much long. He was gone for what, 6-7 months?
Yeah.
The injury was supposed to be done by February.
He tried to come back.
And then what happened? That's
how much he loves Liverpool, by the way.
Yep. He tried to come back, and then he hurt himself again.
Yep.
Same knee, different injury.
Yep.
And then he was gone for another 2.5 months, and he came back the last, 2-3 games?
Yeah. Something like that.
So he hasn't even have a whole full year of season yet, but people want him to be that
first full year. This is his first full year
that he's playing for Liverpool.
This is his first full. This is his attempt.
Just go ahead because I'm heating up. I'm heating up right now. Just keep going. You guys discuss.
So let me just say this because I know Brian's gonna definitely compliment the argument here. But you know what's very interesting is that very few players hit the ground as the term hit the ground running. You know, Diaz was one of those players. I think he scored his second game with us, I think, or something like that, right? So he's one of the few players that could hit the ground running. And the reason why I can say that point is because he is such a unique talent, such a creative, unique talent that when he joined the club, he didn't have to necessarily fit into the system immediately. He didn't have to adjust or adapt to the system per se, because he was so creative that he could just create on his own. It was a unique style and ability that not many players, if any, on our team really could say they are masters of. Okay. But then not only did he get injured, obviously, by Partey taking him out in that Arsenal game, he again tried to come back, as you pointed out. But the one unique thing about this year is if you look numerically in the statistics, and this is something I did with my own eye test too, is that I see him tracking back more. The adaptation that you said that Klopp is doing with Diaz is so evident to me, at least, that you can see the difference in player that he's becoming. He's putting in a real intensity, a real commitment to tracking back, commitment to pressing, commitment to defense. I was watching Jamie earlier. And Jamie had a show yesterday, and I still need to to work some things out with Jamie on trying to do something about this, because I guess Diaz is becoming my trigger, because I got taken to the woodshed by a lot of people, basically trying to say that I'm crazy for saying Diaz had the best game or he was the man of the match, blah blah blah, for the Everton game. And I said Everton, an Everton game for me, I personally believe that he was the most actively creative. The biggest problem for Everton was Diaz.
Right?
Because Diaz, again, that unique ability I spoke of when he initially came, that creativity, the ability on the ball to take on players and utilize his speed and utilize his ball control is abundant. And the unique thing about it is this: people don't like stats. I get that, you know, I like the top stats. But the one unique thing about Diaz is that people were talking about, oh, he doesn't play defense, or he wasn't really in the game. He wasn't this or wasn't that. Do you realize that Diaz had the most ground duels won in that game? He had more ground duels won than I get it. You can say, oh, because Everton didn't have the ball. Okay, cool. But he had more ground duels than anyone on the front line. He had more ground duels if you put the two players and combined their ground duels. Okay? He had more ground duels than anyone in the midfield. There's like things like show that he's making commitment. The guy played left wing. I know people are going to say, well, he didn't when he was pushed to left wing back, oh, he wasn't playing defense, he wasn't doing this or that. We were playing a 2-4-4 in some people's minds. I still say that the fact is that he had to be put into that role because they took off Simicast. Obviously, there's going to be a need for someone to cover the left that wing. So in essence, he was covering the entire left wing practically, you know? So it's like things like that is like, it's so maddening to hear because, you know, it's borderline, if not, I believe, some type of agenda. And I agree. This is something I can't accept as being a content creator, and I'll land here. We all have agendas. We all have agendas. I know my agenda sounds like I'm often defending. I understand I'm the Liverpool Defense Club. You know what I mean? Okay. I came into the barbershop today because I know that the Punisher is too crazy or too extreme for most people in the world. So now I'm going to start to gravitate towards being the equalizer. Okay. When it comes to conversations. So I got to get my cut like Denzel. And but that's just something that I just can't get over. It's just something that I really believe is important to say, is that I think that sometimes we don't really, even though the numbers might not back up people's arguments, or they might back up people's arguments, we don't necessarily want to accept those numbers. And you look at the numbers, Diaz is having a great year. If you want to look at the numbers, I've heard the Mane comparisons. He's a left wing. He's not a left inside forward. You know, it's apples and oranges almost, you know, when it comes to those concepts. And if anything, if you want to compare numbers, originally, I mean, I do have the numbers. Originally, when you look at his numbers before he came, obviously Porto's not the Premier League, but all the same, when he was being looked at as being a player for this club, if you stacked Mane's numbers versus him, Diaz had better numbers.
That's where my question is. What are people looking at for Diaz? Diaz's job, looking at the way Klopp wants him to play. Klopp is trying to take that maverick style away from him as much as he can. The reason why Nunes is doing much better now is because Nunes had the whole year to try to figure this thing out. And he's getting a lot of help from Salah. And Salah, being the leader that he is doing a lot to help Nunes. Diaz is a whole different type of player. People think he and Nunes are the same. No, they're not. The only thing that they have is because they have that fire with them. But they are two separate players.
Other than being South American, they don't have really very much in South American and pace. Other than that, they don't have much in common at all.
Diaz's job in Liverpool is to stay wide and stretch the game out as much as possible. Teams knows how he plays. So what do? When he stretched the game out, they don't chase him. What do? They sit back and say, you come to us. Against Everton, you saw that. This is the thing that is annoying. People were like, well, whatever he did to get
the penalty
is what he's supposed to do because he's a winger. Bro,
that's
exactly what he's supposed to do. That is what you are criticizing him to do. So you criticizing him
such a narrative
because he did his job. you know how many times he got Ashley Young to foul him? It wasn't just those 2 fouls that no, it was 4 times.
I know.
The ref was like, "You need to stop," and Ashley Young kept doing it. Right. Exactly the same thing that Brian. I'm sorry, but this is exactly the same thing that people say he didn't. He's 39 years old. He should be. He did it and gave the guy a red card before the first half was over.
Yeah, no, because he couldn't handle it.
Brian, tell me what was Diaz supposed to do except dribbling 4 players and putting the ball in the net? Because when Szoboszlai came in, you know what the commentator said? A lot of fans are not going to recognize how good this guy is until he dribbles 5 people and put the ball in the top corner. Then everybody's like, "Oh yeah, this is the great player."
Yeah,
Brian, take over, man.
Yeah, well, good evening to both of you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I think I can't. Yeah, it's to say what to other people. I do my best now. Like I hear some people, a couple of people in chat a lot are saying, "Oh, have you heard what X channel is saying? Have you heard what Y channel is saying? Have you heard this? Have you heard that?" And obviously my filter is very good because I'm like, no, I haven't heard any of these. Like, are you going on Manchester United channels? You know, what Liverpool channels are you going on? That'd be the first question I'd ask, right? Then to try and cover a lot of, and yeah, I know what 12 Man is saying, and to be fair, stats have never been as popular as they are right now. Stats, the majority of people are massively into stats in football. So
when it suits the agenda, agenda.
If you're into betting, if you're into fancy football, you're into anything like that, you can't get away from stats. They're thrown at you all the time, and some people do rail against it when you say it. They'll say, "Look, I watched that game," and if somebody doesn't really think a player is that good, there's nothing really you can do to change their mind. You know, especially Liverpool fans that have been watching the club for 25, 30 years. Yeah, call it. I wouldn't go so far as to call it an agenda. I know some people do use it as agenda to create views, but some people, they just don't. They don't rate him. They never will. They don't think he's that good, you know, and they think he's getting overpraised. And because, yeah, like I keep saying, we were always spoiled with Mane, and as you've rightly pointed out, they're completely different players. But what they wanted, you know, something else that, you know, life is all about timing. It's all about timing. Especially in sport, like when he comes in, he gets an injury at the wrong time. It just knocks him. It was the same with Naby Keita. Somebody said, because you remember we bought Naby Keita, we had to wait a year.
A year to get him.
And then he was injured for basically most of a year. And one of the guys that was working at Liverpool said at the time, he said, Klopp wanted Naby Keita to play a very particular role in a very particular system. By the time he was fit, which was basically 2 years later, he said, we changed the way we played the game almost completely.
Yep.
So Naby didn't fit in, and so timing just wrecked that for Naby. If we'd gotten Naby the day we wanted him, we would have seen a completely different Naby.
Oh man, he would have been killing it.
So Luis Diaz comes in. He's on fire. I get that. Like, it's great when he comes in mid-season. He's already he's been playing a bit of football already with Porto. The opponents don't know him. He's new to the league. He's not a kid, so he's kind of fearless. He's trying new things. But then this is the problem that all fans at a lot of clubs, if you ask an Aston Villa fan to look at Jack Grealish playing a game tomorrow, they'll say, I do not recognise that footballer. That is not the footballer that was at Aston Villa. That is not the footballer that they paid £100 million for. Because he takes these guys and he turns them into worker bees. And he takes the flair and the individuality out. And some of that is happening with Liverpool now at the moment, where it's like, yeah, the Diaz that you would have seen at Porto, you know, flying past people, doing different things. This is a different league. It's a different team, different manager. He's been asked to do, like 12 Man is pointing out, the first, like, and this isn't, you know, when you look at these things, you should look at them for all our players compared to other teams' players. The prerequisite in this team is hard work. You have to absolutely work your balls off, and then you can go and play football. Then you can go and do your stuff. But if you're not working to the absolute maximum level, you won't even get onto the pitch. So that's what these guys now are been, and maybe that's what people are looking at, and they're not seeing Diaz being like Vinny Jr. or being like Mbappe and not like Mbappe, but you know, tearing past people and banging them into the top corner.
Check this out. Vinny can do what he's doing because Vinny doesn't have to drop all the way back to the left
It
back.
doesn't have to work.
He
Absolutely,
doesn't have to work. They
Yeah.
leave him there, staying on the wing.
So for your question, it's like you were saying, what is it that people want? What is it that people expect?
Yeah.
And I really don't know. I'm not that sure what it is. I think if you were to ask me, I think he's doing his best. I don't think he's a tier 1 world footballer. I think he's a top 2 tier, that kind of thing. He's not one of the best in the world, but he's an excellent player. So for me,
he's a maverick.
Yeah, I like the guy. I think he's doing well, but yeah, it's just in a crop team, you're going to have to work hard, and sometimes you don't get to show off the skills. As long as he's being effective at the end of the year, he's effective in games. He created all those problems the other day. Yeah, if there's an agenda, and you can't change people's minds. But for me, I'm happy with the guy as a player. I'm happy with he's not tearing the world up. He's not, ripping the league up or anything, but he's good. He's a really good player. Let him be. Let him do his thing.
Thank you. And guess what? We got the man, the legend, the G. He's in the building from GTV. Thank you so much. And this conversation needs you to be here because this is the thing. We're talking about Diaz right now, right? My question is, people are asking, Diaz doesn't do anything for the club. If he doesn't score a goal, there's nothing. And there's a couple people, and I might call myself a hypocrite because I just gave a glaring standing ovation to Salah because I said Salah at this point of his career, he doesn't need to do what he was doing 3, 4, 5 years ago. Right now, all he needs to do is just give us the output and then we're good, whether it's an assist or put a ball in the back of the net, right? We have a player named Jota who hasn't even got the glaring career as Salah, but he's doing what Salah does. What does Jota do for Liverpool? You can't tell me, but he will put the ball in the net when he got the opportunity. So what is the hate coming from Diaz? People are forgetting that, and this is what I was saying earlier. I don't know if you heard me. I said people are using Diaz first 6 months of Liverpool as a benchmark to criticizing him now. The same Diaz that people said he wasn't playing like Mane, he wasn't tracking back, he's dribbling too much, he's holding the ball too much. Every single criticism that they were giving him to him now, why aren't you doing that same Diaz? Right? Last year when we were playing so poor, he was the best player on the team before he got injured. People forget, I know your brain is twisting. You're not going to find any better player last year than Diaz until Bacheta came in and all of a sudden Stefan became the best player on the team. And then towards the last 8 games, then Trent became the best player on the team. Diaz got 2 bad injuries. People forget that. They think it was just 1. No, it's 2. The Partey injury healed up and then he hurt himself again, which held him basically 6 months. So this is the first year that he's actually getting a whole chance to play. So my question is, what are people looking for from Diaz? What is exactly what they want? And then we will think about what Klopp wants from him.
First of all, big up 12, big up Brian, big up yourself.
Thank you so much.
Everyone's blessed. You guys are well. I don't know, man. It might just be preference. I'll be honest. It could just be a preference thing. Like me, what Brian said there at the end is exactly how I look at Diaz. I don't think he's like a tier 1 like winger, but you know what I mean. I wouldn't there's not many I would put in that bracket anyway. But he's just not really my type of like the Diaz that I see of today. And this is where you mentioned about Klopp and what he may be asking him to do and blah blah blah. That Diaz, you can tell that that's a player who. He's now got a role, so to speak, within the team, as in he's got a designated role, whatever that is, whatever you want to call it, that's what he's got to do. Right. The Diaz that we saw in that first, 6 months had 0 roles. He didn't have a role. He couldn't speak English. He couldn't communicate with the players. He was literally coming in and just doing his thing. And Klopp just allowed him to express himself. So we got to see Raz. So this is what it looks like when he's just out there. So we thought, I assume, I'm not going to speak for everybody. I'm assuming people just thought we were going to be able to just see that kind of Diaz moving forward. And we're not seeing that Diaz moving forward. Again, that might just be Klopp saying, I want you to play this way. Again, that's up to Klopp. That's up to Diaz to be able to do it. So then it then just comes down to preference. You know, it is honestly, it is just one of those kind of things. I can see both sides. I can see why people like Diaz, but then I can see why people would criticize someone like a Diaz. But then I don't like the comparisons to like a Mane or something, because I'm always like, why? I'm not saying it's only us, but I only care about the Liverpool fan base. Why is it anytime I listen to people, it's always, man, we got to find a VVD replacement. Man, we got to find a Salah replacement. Man, we need someone to replace Mane. We need someone to replace Firmino. Like, the top teams in the world that I've ever seen, they've never worked like that. I've never seen top teams doing that. Like, I don't see Real Madrid saying, yeah, we need to find another Zidane or we need to find another Ronaldo. Like, you just move on and get players that work with whatever you need. Like Manchester City, they're the perfect example. They never ever replace like for like. It's never the same. It's always something a bit different about this guy to the previous guy that they had in that said position. You know, Claudio Bravo, Joe Hart, they're all different to a Edison. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, and then obviously Haaland being different to an Aguero or a Dzeko, or, you know, it's always going to be different because you're just, whatever works for the team, that's all I care about. Do you know what I mean? So we need to stop. Maybe sometimes I think people are being a bit harsh sometimes on Diaz in that regards, because they'll be like, oh, but Mane could do this. Mane was doing that. The relationship. I'm like, it's true. Yes. In what Klopp asked Mane to do, he was excellent at it. That doesn't mean that every player that comes after Mane has to be able to do that same thing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Whatever Diaz is good at, he's good at. Do you get what I'm trying to say? He might, but you can't. It's like saying to someone, "Oh, you can't play like Lionel Messi, so you must be shit." Well, why? Like, there's only one player. Of every player is unique in what they can do. So allow them to just do what it is that they do. Diaz, on the one hand, I do look at him and think you have got good qualities. On the other hand, I'm like, that's why I'll say I agree with Brian, because I'm like, yeah, you got good qualities, but like, would I put you in that top bracket? No, I almost look at you like I don't really know like what type of winger like I would put him in, but just not in that bracket where I'm like, if I need to win a game.
He's not Ribéry.
Yeah, but again, like, Ribéry is a world-class winger. Like, Diaz isn't even close to that. Like, I don't think he's even close to that kind of level. Like, that level is, to be that level, you got to be peak world-class for like 3 years, 4 years. Like, and that's what Ribéry, Robben, these kind of guys, that's what they were doing. Diaz hasn't even got to that even world-class level, let alone do it for 3-4 years to cement his place. So he still needs to get there, but he can still be a good winger. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get on him too hard, but I don't, at the same time.
Are you not counting? I just want to ask a quick question.
Yeah.
Are you not counting then his play? Obviously, you can. Yeah, I know your opinion on club versus international, but are you not then counting his play in Portugal? Are you not counting, like? Because I know that we can a lot of times when people reference Diaz, they act like Diaz's play is only generated from, or their opinions are only generated from his play in the Premier League, and we've only seen. As Kwasi has said, this is going to be, and as I was saying, this is going to be his real first attempt at having a full year in the Premier League. So, like, I understand you might not put him in that tier 1 status, but I mean, if you were to look at his stats in the Portuguese league, then he would have been in that tier 1 status. And I
wouldn't have. I wouldn't. I never ever thought, even when he was in Portugal, I never really looked at him and thought he was a tier 1 type of. Again, it's difficult because obviously everyone's definition of whatever that tier 1 is going to be different. So it's like, for me, for you to have been a tier 1 type of any player, whatever position, at bare minimum, you need to have been performing in the highest level, whatever that is, the highest level for a minimum of like 2 years. And he hasn't really done that. In Portugal, you're not really going to be able to do that. So, but just purely out of the league that you're playing in. So, unfortunately, you're now in a position where it's like, you're going to kind of need to move to, or you're going to have to do exactly what Jose Mourinho did, which is You need to win the Champions League, and then those players from that season that they won the Champions League, from then on, that's when they would then be deemed as world class players. Dzeko, Ricardo Carvalho, whoever else you want to throw in there, like as world class players at that time. Prior to that, you could never ever call these guys world class players until they've been doing it at that kind of level and stage. And he just unfortunately just due to the team. That's about it.
And what is world class is the big argument. Like, what is world class?
Exactly.
Everybody has a totally different.
I think
is Sane world class?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think no.
I don't think Sane because Sane has not done it consistently enough. You know, even in Bayern, has he been consistent in Bayern?
He's lighting it up this year, but yeah, I got you.
But he has to do it. That's one of the reasons why Pep sold him. Pep sold him because Pep bought it because he said this kid is going to be special. But
I think after that, with his attitude, but with Sane, like it's mad because if he didn't get injured that season and he had the same type of season that he would have had the year before that injury, then he would be considered a tier one like type of winger. He like Sane's in almost like he's like a tricky one because you're almost like you've been in tier one before, but you've almost dropped out of it now just purely because injury. And as you said, you've not been consistently doing it for Bayern Munich. But for me, he was in that tier one list when he was at Manchester City. He got to that level, that kind of level of, this is one of the most frightening wingers I've ever seen in England, let alone anything. But then it dropped, of course, injury.
Is Martinelli tier one then?
No.
Martinelli, no.
Is Martinelli, or maybe, okay, then how about what's the boy who plays for Napoli? Kavicha.
Again, he's another one. He's another one where I'm like, you've not done it for long enough. You've shown me for one season. You were on. If we're just going based on one season, I just plucked it out. You were one of, if not the best left winger out there. 100% cool. You can argue whatever, but he was probably top 2-3 left wingers one season though. Let's not act like when he was at bloody, was it Ruben Kazan or whatever it was that we were all asking, oh my goodness, who's Kvarat? No, I think people always being disingenuous that where we can't act that. That's the same thing. The same argument I have for Osherman is the same thing I have for Kvaratskhelia, where I'm like, I can't put you in any world class brackets for one season. I don't do world class based off of one season. Mo Salah was not world class after that one season. I couldn't call him that because I felt like it could have been a one season thing. But then what did Mo do? Season after that. Too. That's when I put him in. Osherman's the same thing.
Same thing. When he was having his best season, World Cup qualifier, he didn't do nothing when he was supposed to help his country go to the World Cup. Ghana, he didn't even have a shot on goal. You see what I mean? So I definitely agree. But a lot of times, I think people conflict a club in a good form with the players being world class. Same thing with Arsenal. Saka and Martinelli are having a great form, and everybody's automatically, they're world class. No. Saka is at the point of where Sane was. When he was, we were like, this kid is going to be, wow. If Saka give us the same season he gave us last year, I will possibly be looking at it like, okay, he's maybe tier 3 like world class. Because people have to understand there's levels in every tier that you are in.
Yeah. Saka will be world class. If like after this season, then I'll start comfortably saying, like if Saka has like a similar season, he don't even have to have the exact same. It could be a little bit less actually. And I would say, no, he's a world class winger because he's doing it in a Champions League. He's fighting. If Arsenal challenge, then he's doing. Then because I've seen Saka rise up for ages, like in terms of being from a left back now to a right winger. We've seen the kind of development of this kind of player, obviously just because he plays in the Prem. So yeah, I would say Saka after this season. Yeah, even Martinelli, I wouldn't even put him in after this season unless he would have to have such a sick season this year for me to consider it. Even I'd have to even start thinking maybe next season I have to kind of see, because I just think that we throw around like that's why with Liverpool I always never like, it was like that I never put none of these players into world class because I was like, yeah, you could be great for like a season, but Liverpool had to go out there and actually prove to everybody like, okay, are we actually great? So Trent, whatever the first season that he got double figures, for example, for assists, oh, that's cute. Can you replicate that though? playing the same way, doing the same thing. Can you replicate that? He replicated it.
Yeah.
Robertson, can you do it? Can you replicate? Can you do it? Alisson, can you stay strong? Van Dijk, is it just one of those things because you've got to continue that kind of thing? It can't just be based upon like one, and that's what bugs me about football fans, not even just Liverpool, just football fans. Is every day I'm always seeing conversations about this player is world class and that player is world class. And I'm like, right, you might as well just throw everybody who scored. Like, is Ollie Watkins world class because he's got 8 in whatever? Like, that's the kind of conversations that I'm hearing people kind of have.
And to finish off this Diaz conversation.
Oh, Martinelli, what a goal! Talk of the devil.
I was just about to say he has to start. They have to start doing it in Europe. That's one of the next things. These guys, Saka and Martinelli, they have to start doing it in the Champions League as well.
Yeah.
So you see it that they can. Yeah, can you do it at this level? No, can you do it at this level? Can you do it when it matters? Can you do it when
not in a bloody Europa League flipping group stage. I don't see that.
Yeah, semi-finals, quarterfinals. Can you step up? Can you hold your nerve? Can you put that big performance on the big night? Those are the building blocks. It takes 4, 5, 6 years before you can say, that guy is genuinely world class. You need a back catalogue. Like, you can't just your first album. That's your first album. It might be the best album. You might be like the Stone Roses, you put out your best album is your first album and no one ever reads that's it. But if you put out hit after hit after hit, then you can say, right, you've got a proper back catalogue there as a player. But one thing I just want to say quickly to G, when you were asking about like maybe say the way our fans are like, we need to replace Salah, we need to replace this guy, we need to replace that guy. I see that as a hangover. Because most people that are alive now will have been alive during the Man United dominance era.
Yeah.
And we always had one really outstanding player, a couple.
Yeah.
And if we lost like an Owen, it was like, if we lose Owen, we're done. We have to, if we can't replace him, we can't. We still haven't gotten to the point now, I think, of being comfortable and safe in ourselves that, no, we're good, we're cool.
Yeah.
We can lose this guy. And we can, it doesn't have to be Mark 2. We're comfortable. We're good. I think it's just a hangover from that fear.
Yeah.
Owen's gone. We're finished. Gerrard's gone. We're done. We're over. It's you may as well lock up the gates and Gerrard's gone. We're done.
You're right. The
totally
funny
agree.
thing is,
Totally
me
agree.
and Savage, after the show, we were talking about that, and I was saying Manchester is called the Manchester United syndrome. Manchester United, ever since since Ferguson 10 years ago, right? All the players and expectations that the fans wanted has been the players that Alex Ferguson will buy. Let's listen, man. People forget they have some serious players. Di Maria, Falcao, even though he wasn't the same, but that was Falcao. He can still score a goal. Look at the list of players: Ronaldo, Pogba, all these players that they have is always the same players. They literally have a time block. They think that football stopped when Alex Ferguson retired. So all they have to do is just go right back to where Alex Ferguson was, and then they will be champions again. Liverpool also used to do that. We used to focus on our history. This is the same thing Liverpool fans have right now. Everybody has been saying we need a rebuild. If we need a rebuild, the rebuild is not going to be identical. It might be identical, but it's not going to be the same as the first one. So people are having in their head that, just like G said, it has to be Mane. If you're going to play on the left side, it has to be the way Mane was playing. No. Diaz was never Mane, was never new. He was never anybody. Diaz was a whole different player that Klopp was like, I can do something with this guy. And if it wasn't even him, it was Pep who convinced Klopp to bring him in. So watching the game on Saturday, people are like, well, he's a 39-year-old. He didn't do this. I'm like, what were you expecting him to do to a 39-year-old? Everything that you say you wanted him to do, he did, and the guy got a red card. He was following him at every turn. Ashley Young was so frustrated, he was yelling at his own players because they were not helping him. That's where the red card came in, because he was out of frustration. So when they went down 9 men, what happened to the defense? They said, okay, Diaz's job, and this is why people don't pay attention, Diaz's job is to stretch the field, make the team wide so that he could use his pace and his trickery to cut through the defensive side of the right team, right? He did that. They got a red card. So what did Diaz said? Nobody goes after Diaz. Sit and let him come to you. Prototypical of Mourinho packing the bus. Let them come to you. I don't care how fast or how tricky you are. You can't run through a brick wall. That's why Diaz wasn't the Diaz that everybody wanted him to dribble, because they think Everton is so trash that they were like, he should have dribbled past 3, 4, 5 of them and then score a goal. It doesn't work like that. You wanted him to dribble. He did. He got a yellow. Homeboy got a yellow. He did it over and over to the point he got a red. He crossed the ball. That's what he's supposed to do. But yet he's getting criticized for doing something that everybody said he's supposed to do. So I don't get exactly what people expecting Diaz to do. He's not going to dribble 4 or 5 guys. Klopp won't allow it. Because if you pay attention to Diaz, when he plays for Colombia, it's not identical to what he plays for Liverpool. For Colombia, he's more like the Porto old Diaz.
There's a lot more freedom.
There's a lot more freedom where get the ball and do whatever you want. That's why he has so much pressure in Colombia, because he is the Don Dada over there. And when he missed the penalty, more pressure came in.
Yeah.
So 12 man, you take this when I'm done.
Yeah, I just want.
I'm trying to maybe, because after that we will just finish and move on. Because people are criticizing him, asking him what is he doing for Liverpool, where we have 4 or 5 players who are the same people who are just doing one thing. Yet we don't ask him the same question. Diaz is not the guy that G said. He's gonna come in and do whatever he wants. Klopp is. People don't know who Klopp is, do they? G. Klopp is not going to give you that kind of freedom. Even Salah didn't get that kind of freedom. The reason why Salah is doing what he's doing is because the team now is built around Salah. When Salah came in, remember Mane had to take a backseat to Salah? And even then, Salah could not do whatever Salah wanted. Salah's job was keep the team wide, be at the place when we need you, and put the ball in the back of the net. There was no dribbling. What kind of iconic dribbling you guys remember from Salah, besides he dropping the defender from CD? And then, it's not the same Salah that was in Italy. It's not the same Salah that was in Basel. Those Salah was a dribbler. Like, he will go through teams like,
The only goal I remember was I went to the game we played against Watford. It was snowing. It was like coming down. But yeah, that game, I think he scored like 4 goals in that game. Yeah, I think that's like the only time that season. But yeah, what you're saying.
I think Manchester United is the best example of when Salah used to take on players the way that we all envision him taking on players. He put the butcher in a split that game for sure.
Go ahead, I'll be right back.
But I was taking a quick look at the world class, and I have 2 points. This world class left wingers, because we were saying that it is very hard to say tier 1. I mean, I think there's possibly, if you want to say tier 1, you probably would say there's 3 left wingers that are in tier 1. That would probably be, and that's left wingers, of course. Mbappe would be one. Who else did I have? Vinny would be 2, and then Neymar would be 3.
Not anymore.
And who else?
Not anymore. Neymar's finished now.
Well, he's finished. I got
he won't be playing.
You could say. Yeah. I mean, you could say, but I mean, right now, because that's like someone saying Benzema's not world class. I'm like, yes, he is.
Yeah,
you don't just lose being world class like by moving to Saudi. But you're right, he is injured, so it's a bit. I know what you mean.
I think he's 32 when he comes back a year out. That's a really bad, and it's like his knee went, his ACL went, and then something. I think his kneecap popped out as well. Yeah. Like his whole knee just went.
He's been. Sorry, you're not talking. Sorry.
No, sorry. He's been really unlucky. So I think that's what you're saying. He's been unlucky.
No, I get that, and I mean, like I'm with sports science and with all the medical things they do today. I'm willing to at least wait and see what kind of Neymar we get before putting the death nail in his career or something.
Well, that's why he's back in a year. Like 15 years ago, you're not walking again after that. Let alone playing. That's medical science. The fact that he can actually go on a pitch again is incredible after an injury like that.
I mean, we could say the same about VVD. I mean, the injury that he sustained wasn't the injury that normally players come back to even have any resemblance of their former self, much less be able to play. But the other point I just wanted to make real quick from what Kwasi was talking about is that he brought up about the pressure that Diaz is facing in Colombia. I made a point about, commenting on, X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and being sure to reach out to Diaz because he does have a Twitter handle. And just pressing the point of I was hoping that his return to Liverpool would be different in that I always think of Liverpool as a home away from home for him. Because he doesn't have to take on the rigors of being the man, being the heir to the throne of like an entire country that just lives and breathes football, that, and obviously takes it to extreme levels, okay, with the emphasis of what they expect from their football players. To have that, he's been going through anxiety. It's been marked and noted that he's having anxiety with the pressures of being Colombia's best. And it was, for me, the reason why I reached out to him and reached out in Twitter in general was because I wanted to make an emphasis for us as Liverpool fans to be a little bit more warm and I guess you say loving in essence, to try to show different love towards him, to make him feel as though he can maybe find his footing, maybe get his mental balance back together with our presence of minds, with our approach towards the whole "you'll never walk alone" approach. And that's why I'm taking such a vocal defense of this player, because I think he's a great player, a great person, but sometimes we forget that these people are people. They are people, human beings, and he's coming, and by him coming back to this team, I was hoping that he would almost find a little bit of I won't say release, but like a little bit of a haven for himself, to be able to just kind of get his focus, get himself together, continue to evolve his game, continue to not be like so critically assessed, and get one full year. Let's just give him one full year in the Premier League. How about that? It's one of those things that I was hoping could happen. And obviously, as of late, we're that's not the case, obviously, but all the same, that's why I was trying to make an emphasis of, I get that a lot of people are critical of his play or and such, but this man could utilize or use our support and our trust.
But thank you so much, 12 man. That's we need to do that a lot. But one thing that I want to say, I want to steal a question from G, is what are Liverpool fans expecting Diaz to be doing? What's the expectation they were giving him when he first came to Liverpool? G,
obviously, when he first come, he was this. I always like to use context because I always feel we miss that out in football way too much. When he came to Liverpool, we got to remember is we were winning games, but Jesus Christ, if you can call that winning, like it was stale, it was dry as hell. We looked like we just, what it is, we just more look like we are so tired right now. Like we just need something. So when he came in with that breath of just fresh air, the energy, the vibes, like when he came in, it was that. And so unfortunately, and I've done this myself sometimes, unfortunately, you almost like, all right, well, if you've shown me that, keep showing me that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to see that like all the time. But again, we then have to take into context then obviously last season being such a poor season in a general sense that I don't even think, even if he was around, that we would have had a good season. Like, I still think we would have come probably just fourth. We probably would have made fourth. But outside of that, knocked out of everything like we were, I don't think it would have changed too much of the season. So, that was just a poor season. And as 12 said, you're right. Like I said, I do this myself, man. Maybe give him this to the end of the season. Give him to the end of the season, see what's up. And then obviously, if you want to make your assessment on the player, then make your assessment. But I think the expectation level for him now, unfortunately, you what we got to remember is expectation versus reality. And I always talk about that, expectation versus the actual reality. If you or anyone here on this panel expects Liverpool to do well, unfortunately, then he's going to need to do well too. And whatever well to you is whatever well to you is. Right. If you don't think Liverpool are going to do that well, then I guess how well he does is just will be in line with whatever your expectations are, kind of thing. But then we have to match that to the reality of whatever the situation is. Do you get what I mean? 9 games in, we're fourth, I think, in the league or whatever, a few points off top of the table. Everyone's like, oh my god, and I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but the conversation is, oh, we're going to fight for the title, we're in a title race, and that's absolutely fine. So if we're going to go with that premise, unfortunately, then guess what, Diaz? I'm going to need you to be a player who's looking like they're performing like a player who's fighting for the title too. So if I don't see that, then whatever. But that's not my expectation, though. My expectation is not to win the league, because I don't think we're at that stage yet. My expectation is I'll be good with that top 4, top 3, and I'll take it from there and see what kind of happens elsewhere. And then next season, I'll be putting that level of emphasis on the team to say, if you don't win the league now, then when are we ever going to win the league?
Yeah, I agree.
You know, kind of thing. So it's expectation versus reality, man. That's all.
No, man, thank you, man. Yeah, you are right on that one. Even myself, who are always a super fan and wishy-washy sometimes, you have to put that in your mind and be like, okay. Then that's why this year I'm giving the team. I'm like, I was screaming for a rebuild. The rebuild is not going to be overnight. I don't care just because Klopp is there. You know what I mean? The way we did our rebuild, it was a hard stop and then restart all over again. It wasn't like how Ferguson used to do it or Pep did it. Pep was doing it while he was coach. And that's what most of us were saying. Why, the FSG outers and most people say, why didn't we do it that way? Hence the reason why there was the Edwards versus Klopp situation where he said, Edwards saw it coming and he said, hey, these people needs to go. These people needs to go. Klopp was like, no, I'm going to keep him for a couple more. So we have to give him, time. And that's why now I'm going to stop with the Diaz joke, go straight to Tsimikas, right? People are forgetting that Tsimikas hasn't played consistently since he came to Liverpool. Robo don't get injured. When he gets a deeper form, what do Klopp do? Keep him there till he gets his form back, right? The only time Tsimikas gets a chance to play is when Robo's form dip or injury, which is not that much, or these, cup games here and there.
Right. I was going to say, you got to include cup games.
Cup games here and there,
and now
right?
with Europa.
Yeah.
He's getting
So why everybody is expecting him to just jump in all of a sudden and be Robo? You see what I'm saying? And two, there's only one player in the club, and I'm not adding Allison on this, but there's only one player on the club who can be gone for 3 years and come back and fit like a glove, and that's Martin. So I'm expecting this conversation, like, why is everybody on Tsimikas and we need the left back and we need the left center back and we need this, we need this, we need. I'm like, bro, give the guy a chance.
Just before I'm gonna literally shoot off now. All I'll say on that is, in football, I like one thing I realized with every team and just managers in general. Some managers are quite smart, and in this case, Klopp is very smart. He didn't sign Tsimikas to replace Robbo. He didn't sign Tsimikas to come, like he signed him to be someone who, I just want you to come in every now and again. Like, I want you to play a few games. If Robbo stays fit, you ain't gonna play. I don't want you to play because I trust that Robbo is of the level to just continue and blah blah blah.
Right.
So he isn't like, for example, because if the case was, or why didn't you get a left back who's more adequate? Then we all know that Tsimikas isn't adequate. So you would just go out and sign a better left back who can come in and fight with Robbo to where we're actually like, oh, is Robbo going to play today? Is it this guy? Like, I think we all want that in our brains, but that's not really going to be, that doesn't really work in football. We can't have every position every player can be rotated in every single position, because no top team again has that type of situation where it's like every position. Some positions are just, no, this is the top guy and this guy's going to play that second fiddle. And that's what it is like with Robbo in that situation. Is Robbo's the top guy. He's the guy who's been performing, been probably the best left back in the world for the last whatever many years. I just need someone to come in who's just going to, because clearly Klopp doesn't feel that there's going to be another left back right now who can come in and is going to trouble him like that. So Tsimikas, you're good enough to just play here and there. Right. You're not shit, but you're good enough. You've got qualities that we can use.
Yes.
Let's do that. That's why we've never ever, and we won't ever sign a Salah replacement. You were not going to sign someone to just come in and rotate with Salah. Why would you do that? The guy plays every single week. Like, it just doesn't.
That's the Kane, really what they call the Kane effect. You know what I mean? That's the Kane effect. If you have a great player,
Why? Like Kane never like they signed. What's the guy who plays for Fulham? I saw him playing the other day against Tottenham yesterday. Was it Vinicius, whatever, the Fulham striker? Yeah, him. Yeah, yeah. Like they got him. They signed. What's the other flipping guy they signed?
Dedos, whatever his name was, the guy from
They
Spain.
had a was it a Dutch guy? I think it was Dutch anyway. But yeah, they've had strikers who they were. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Like they've always had strikers where it's like you're not coming here to start. Like I don't Lorente. Like I don't need you to start games. I just need you to come in on the random occasions that we need someone else to fill in this position, and you're good enough to do that role, and you're not so good that you're going to kick up a fuss about not playing all the time. It's hard to find that balance with and listen, every club needs players like that. So that's one thing I will say. But
and that's
of
how
course,
you win the league.
Yeah, no, you need players like that. You can't have a flipping like even look at Real Madrid's Galactico team. That team didn't win like a lot of things.
They didn't win that much
because they had too many players. Yeah, they had too many players who were like, I need to play all the time. And this guy, they all dropping Michael Owen. They like Beckham didn't always play. Like you know, like it just can't work in that kind of way. Like football doesn't work like that at all. But I never ever saw Barcelona ever sign someone to replace Messi on the bench. But they sign guys like Arda Turan and Griezmann and stuff like this. But these guys are not replacing Lionel Messi. Like things like this just don't work, man. So I think again, expectation versus reality. I do it myself all the time when I get frustrated with performances and stuff like that. So I'm not saying I'm a saint and we don't do it. It happens to everybody. We all do it. But at the same time, it just depends on what you think we want for the team, or what you think, is best for the team. If we know what that is, then heck, we'd all be managers.
Thank you so much. I mean,
but guys,
thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, man.
No, all love, man.
Hey,
all
we
love.
have
12,
a show coming up
Brian.
or what?
Hey, good to see you.
You have something
I was
coming
gonna say,
up?
Jay, definitely don't find yourself in a dark alley with the Greek scouts there. But
yeah. I know. They'll definitely find me. Show wise, you know what? I actually recorded something earlier on today. Mo Salah, whether he can pass the legacy of Steven Gerrard and stuff like that. What I will say,
that's a debate. No, that's That's a debate. I think you need to bring people on and we need to talk because some people's feelings are gonna get hurt. I'm sorry.
No. Listen. Look, one thing I will say is when I was doing the video, it's only like half an hour long, so I think I'll drop it tomorrow. But definitely, it is definitely a debate. What I will say, if you look at the individual awards that Steven Gerrard won, even I was like, what? Like I didn't even like you were in UEFA Teams of the Year, but he was in UEFA Teams of the Year in years where I was like, we had a shit team that year. Like, how did you, out of all the midfielders that were like, when I even looked at the list of midfielders that he was beating, and I was like, nah, like clearly this guy was a unicorn in himself because Mo Salah, it would be easier for Mo Salah to make Team of the Year with this Liverpool team than it ever would be for Steven Gerrard because Mo Salah is part of a successful team, that does well, blah, blah, blah. Gerrard was a part of a team that, Jesus Christ, man, he's playing with Downing, and so I even took it back to the year that he won UEFA Club Football of the Year 2005. Guys, we finished 5th that season. We had to ask UEFA to get into the Champions League next season just because we had won it, because that rule wasn't even in effect. That's how bad we were, because Everton finished in front of us. Like we were so bad, and this guy was doing, like, I saw the mid, like you'll see the video, but some of the teams that he's in, I'm like, Xavi, Iniesta, there's a team with Kaká, Ronaldinho, Gerrard. I'm like, you and he's there alongside Shevchenko or Henry, and I'm like, this tells you the level of player that you had about Gerrard, like in that time. And I thought Salah's my guy. I thought it was going to be straightforward. I'm going to do the video and I'm just going to come into it and I'm going to give Salah all the props. I was like, I struggled. You will see the video. I struggled to find points for Salah. He's made no Teams of the Year in UEFA. He's, I think, come 3rd in like Ballon d'Or or something like that once. Like, I'm not saying that Salah has not been fantastic. He has been amazing for Liverpool. But one of the words I use in the video is context.
Yeah.
Context has to be applied for both these guys, kind of thing. So, yeah,
I mean,
that's the only thing I will comment on.
I mean, that's that. Wow, I would definitely want to watch that, because the funny thing is the rivals. Do you know how people criticize Henderson right now? That's how they used to criticize Gerrard back then when he's around the Xavis and Iniestas and all these players that you mentioned. That's how people were like, but Gerrard doesn't have a skill. Gerrard and coaches are like, are you crazy? Mourinho, the only reason why he didn't go there because somebody said that he would shoot him in the leg if he goes to wear the Chelsea blue.
Allegedly. I'm going to use the word
allegedly. Alex Ferguson wanted to break that Liverpool Man U truce with Gerrard first before Owens went to Newcastle, so it doesn't count. He wanted Gerrard. He wanted Gerrard so bad. And, I know that one, his daddy would have even disowned him. But, yeah, people don't understand Stevie G. And, yes, rivals likes to do that because they were like, well, Salah won the EPL. So they always like to do that to mess with LFC fans. But if you want to have a conversation like G did on his show that he's going to pull out, trust me. That's why I say people's feelings will get hurt. If you bring that thing out, people's feelings will get hurt. Because me, I'm a Stevie. If there was a player ever that I'm going to put their name on the jersey, because when I buy a jersey, I don't put nobody's name on it. I'm a club person, not a player person. Stevie G would have probably been my first one. I only put my name in the back.
Listen, man. Like I said, all I'll say is I just looked at that, and you've got to realize again context. The guy is being put into Player of the Year around Europe at a time when Liverpool were not a top club at all. So do you know how difficult? It's almost like it'll be basically like the equivalent right now of Maddison getting Player of the Year every year, or not every year, but like getting in the UEFA Teams of the Year, but Tottenham ain't winning shit. Like they ain't fighting for no titles, they ain't doing nothing. That'll be the equivalent. Like if Maddison was to keep on performing and whatever, it'll be exactly the same thing, because you'll just be like, shit, like, is he that good? Like we have to put it, like you just had to put Gerrard in, whereas Salah, that's why I said context with Salah, unfortunately, Salah's part of the era where he came in he started being good at a time when Messi and Ronaldo were still kind of doing their thing. So unfortunately, it's going to be a bit biased towards Gerrard anyway, because Gerrard was there before even Ronaldo, I think, had even made like a Team of the Year yet. Do you know what I mean? That's before the Messi Ronaldo dominance for like a decade, if not more. Whereas Salah was in that kind of era. So it is a bit unfair in that sense, but yeah, like I said, man, watch the video and you guys will see.
Oh man, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, G.
Guys.
Big up.
Enjoy the rest of your stream, man. Peace.
Thank you. Yeah. So back to Simicast, Brian. What are you gonna say with this situation here? Because it is me. I'm giving Liverpool, and I told Savage after the show. I said this is not even the best you're gonna see Liverpool next year, when club just have to put 2 or 3. Sprinkles into the team, because now these teams have played together and they have gelled together. That's what the Liverpool that is going to dominate is going to come in. So right now, this is just Klopp still. Klopp doesn't even know his best 11 yet. I've been saying that. He doesn't. Until he figures it out, this club is not at its peak yet. And people need to chill.
Yeah, Simicast, you could go on. I think there's been way too much kind of drilled into him, because it's everything that G said. You have a squad and you have your top player and you have a guy that's behind that guy. If he's not, it is a hard position to fill. That's why G, like the point is G is making. You can't buy a Salah replacement until Salah leaves, because there isn't a player in world football who's good enough to replace him, but will be happy to sit on the bench while Salah plays. So you need soldiers. You need these guys that, hey, look, it's like I said before, life is all about timing, and especially football. If Robertson has got an injury now, so this is Simicast's opportunity to come in. What I was trying to pick up on before was that I had an issue. I had thought we would have a potential issue if we played a system where we were making a back 3, a box in midfield, and then 3 up front, right? And then Simicast was being asked to be one of that back 3. So you'd be taking away all his strengths. He's a brilliant attacking left back. Well, he's great at going forward, but he's not like the world's best, central defender, left-sided central defender. This is not his job. So that's what I was worried about. But then Klopp showed, and I thought that was really interesting, because when you think about that three at the back, it's not so much about names. It's a shape. So we're doing what Pep is doing. And Pep gave up this inverted fullback thing months ago, and people haven't really spotted that. He's using Ederson to make the third in the back three. So the two centre backs split, and so look at how high up the pitch Alisson was, how far up the pitch he was. He was outside his box so often. So that allowed Tsimikas to be able to play as a more orthodox, attacking type left back. And when he's doing that, absolutely perfect. Is he as good as the best Andy Robertson? Of course he's not. Andy Robertson over the last 5-6 years is one of the best left backs we've ever had in the Premier League.
Top 5 in the world. You cannot mention 5 left backs without mentioning Robo's name.
No, not at all. It's about longevity. I know Statman. I almost call him Statman. 12 man. He likes to bring up. There are some stats that will say he has as many successful crosses and all that, but that's great. But like I always say, it's stats plus eye test plus real world football. If you're not using all three, you're doing it wrong. If you're only using stats, you're doing it wrong. If you're only using eye test, you're doing it wrong. If you're not melding it all together, and then be an individual, be a person, and make your own personal decisions on things. I can have a personal decision, like me and you, Quasi. We can sit down, right, and we can watch a replay of a tackle, and you can say, Brian, that's a foul, and I can say, Quasi, I don't think that's a foul, and we will never agree. We could watch the replay 1,000 times, and you could still see, I see it as a foul, and I'd be like, it's not a technical thing. I don't think it's a foul. So you'll get some people with Tsimikas, you get some people with Robertson. I think he's fantastic. Left back, backup. The second guy to come, the guy that's going to be happy. This is the thing. The guy that isn't going to sit there on the bench kicking up a stink because he's not playing every week. He's not the main guy. It's like Robbo's the main guy. You're coming in. Robbo's the main guy. You're happy with that. You're going to get cup games, Europa League games. So this is the thing. He comes in now. He's got, what are we looking at? 10 weeks, probably something like 16 games. Yeah, he's probably going to start all the league games.
Maybe sometime January, I think.
Yeah, he's going to start all the league games. So he's got a shout now. But again, like I'm not bringing it down, but as soon as it gets to a 10-man game against Everton and they're not trying to come out, then I stop analysing the game. Let's look at a 5-block game where we play strong teams, weak teams, low block teams, high pressing teams. Let's see how he gets on in all those situations. And I'm not saying, it'll be a test. He's in there now. It's his spot. What I'm really interested to see, now that this gives us the opportunity, is who's going to play when he's not playing in the Europa League or whatever. He
better get all the games he could possibly get. Because he's been
Klopp's come out and said he can't play every game. So I expect him to get
Gomez.
Yeah, so I expect something different. But I just think let's give him 5 games, against a different opposition. Let's not get on his back. Let's let him do what he's good at. Let's not ask him to do what he's not good at.
And let me throw a caveat. I think people are looking at the game against City and they are petrified.
Yeah, of course, and that's understandable. That's a little bit understandable.
But people also
it wouldn't matter who we had.
Yeah,
it wouldn't matter who we had playing against City. We'd be, and again, we've all seen it. Guys that you don't Divock Origi versus Barcelona. The guys Shaqiri versus Barcelona. The guys that are the understudies, the guys that are like as I always call it, the next cab off the rank. You've got your main guy, and then there's the next cab off the rank. And these are the guys. Sometimes they can step up in these big games when everyone's going, he's going to be the weak link. He's going to be the one, and they can often be like Joe Gomez did it in 3 or 4 games this year. Joe Gomez shoved it back down people's throats. Anyone saying, Van Dijk is out now. They're going to have to play bloody Gomez, and Trent is out. This Gomez lad, he's useless. He was the best player in at least 2 of the games, in an overall sense.
Yeah, before the international break last time.
Yeah, so there's nothing like a young guy or a sub or someone like that that gets their chance and comes in and takes it. That's what the sport is all about. So back him and support him.
Yeah, we're gonna finish this with two things: Konate and VVD. And 12 men, I'll give you the easy one, VVD, because people don't get how good this guy is. I have to keep reminding people that if you are not what's his name, Paolo Maldini, don't criticize VVD. Okay. The funny thing is, there's a stat that just came out saying that he went at his best, the elite that we saw him, compared to what he's doing now. His numbers now is almost dwarfing that VVD that we used to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So somebody was trying to be cheeky.
Oh, sorry.
His brother here.
I'm watching the game.
Somebody was trying to be cheeky and say,
Sevilla is one. It's 2-1 Arsenal. Yeah.
So somebody was trying to be cheeky and say, oh, well, that VVD did not work as hard as this VVD. So I was like, okay, whatever. But before we jump on VVD, Konate, I think I have the same worry like I used to have with Cujo. And it's like he has bad, they call it bad habits that he has to, clean up. And he's young. And I think it will take him maybe a year or two to actually figure it out. He's 23. Center backs don't get to their peak till they start 27, right?
Right.
This thing of him, I think somebody needs to pull him because and the reason why I'm saying I'm concerned is because I'm looking at Kwanzaa and Kwanzaa doesn't do the same thing and maybe because it's their body type. Konate is over aggressive. It gets him in trouble.
Yeah, I can see that. You can argue that, sure.
Yeah, and I think if Matip does not sign a contract, club should hire him as a coach and teach him and say, bro, relax. You don't need to be too over. Hey, good to see you, my brothers. Mile High Hotspurs. I need to come to you guys' show, man. I'm still hurt from that game, so I haven't showed up yet, but I will be there soon. Big up to y'all, man. Big up to K-Mac is in the building. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so very well. Alexander, the same. Thank you. Jamie was in the building. I hope he's still there. Jamie, we need to talk about these Diaz, man.
Yeah, man.
We need to talk about Diaz. Yeah. I'm ready. Let me know when, and I will show up.
Jamie, check your DMs.
But yeah, that's the thing.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
sorry.
This game is this Arsenal game. Sevilla is trying.
So that's what I'm saying about Konate. Konate is a good defender. He reads the game well, but he had bad habit that he needs to get out of his system. If he doesn't, Matip is going to play more games than he is. No, he can change. I mean, K-Mac, it is in his DNA. He's not going to fully get it out, but we need it to be less. Remember when he first came to Liverpool, he wasn't that type of aggression. He didn't show that type of aggression. That's why Upamecano's always get caught lacking because he uses his physique to defend. And when you do that and you meet a player like what's that guy from Brighton? Mitoma, and they cause you a lot of problems. So what says Brian and 12 man, you start. What says you with Konate? What do you think he needs to do to get back into form? Because right now, if Matip start getting good games, he's not giving. He better ask Gomez. When Matip is good, there's not that many center backs who are better than him.
Yeah. I look, when it comes to Konate, I know that people, for instance, I had Matip, for instance, starting the Everton game. Mm-hmm. For other reasons, I think that I look at his progressive carries a little bit more and ball dribbling ability. But defensively, I think Matip is a solid veteran. He understands spacing. Mm-hmm. There's parts and points when you're a young player, you tend to use your physicality, your athleticism more so than your football IQ. Okay, because that football IQ is something that you're going to continue to grow and gain. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Konate in general, I agree. He goes to ground too often. It's not necessarily a great statistic is a player that goes to ground because usually if you're going to ground, it means that you're most likely you are beat, Mm-hmm. So So, but he understands the same things. Like he understands the fact that chances are he can be physical enough to either, bully you off the ball, or he can be physical enough or have enough physicality enough, athleticism, I think is the better word for it, enough to be able to beat you with the pace or to make up the difference with the pace. When you get older, you don't rely on those types of things more so. You rely, once again, on your football IQ. I think that one thing that's very, very unfortunate for, and this is going for a lot of players that we've been mentioning all day, actually, is that we've got these expectations that they have to be world-class right now, period. And it's like they can't grow, they can't develop, they can't continue to become the players that they are. And not every player is the same cookie-cut player from everyone else,
Yeah.
So when it comes to Matip, I think that Matip gives us a option, gives us a different approach towards that partnership with Virgil, and it's something that I enjoy. I enjoy seeing that option be available, if you want to put it that way, because quite often we don't, there's not much. It's not necessarily a layoff in ability. It's more like it's just a different characteristic or quality that player brings, and it brings a good quality player to the forefront to be able to play that position. Whether it's Matip, whether obviously it's Konate. Hey, even Gomez has somewhat reestablished a presence and purpose in this team. Whether it's playing right back, right center back, even left back at portions, we understand those things, and it's why I hope that people don't do what they're doing with Konate. I hope they don't do the same with Kwanzaa, for instance. We have to let these players develop, and I think that that's a very big part of how you will be able to appreciate a player for the worth and value that they bring to the club.
Yeah, Brian, so you want to jump on this Konate, or you just jump on the easy one, VVD?
No, Konate, I would kind of, like what 12 Man was saying there. When you are as big and as strong and as fast as a player like Konate is, he's been that size, he's been that much bigger than everyone else for most of his footballing career. And when it's not so much like your foot, when you're that big and fast and strong, that will get you out of every situation. It will just be enough. He can pretty much bury everybody physically.
Right.
He gets picked for France. I'm not sure if you've looked at the list of centre backs available to France right now. It's like an all-time 11 if they're all fit. Konate still gets into that team.
Yep.
I think that's the reason that these things are still happening to him. Barnes would call it the bozo gene. And these are the things that, as a central defender, will be ironed out over time.
Yeah.
I know K-Mac thinks it's a chronic issue. It may be that because, like you were talking about VVD, no defender is perfect. Every single defender will make mistakes in game. Every defender has weaknesses. I don't expect anybody. It's just don't let that one mistake lead to a goal. So he'll come good to a degree, but my main issue with him is he's clearly that size that he is leads to injuries. He's injury prone, small injuries, little bits here and there. But coming back to the Robbo conversation, he's the first choice for Klopp. I think that I see the Klopp's first choice defense. He wants Konate and VVD because their strengths complement each other, and it's about that's why you have your squad. I think Matip, he's just the kind of guy that you're blessed to have him in your squad. But again, you're not planning for the next 4 years with a Matip. You're planning for the next 4 years with a Konate. So Matip, I can see not being here in 2 years' time or a year's time. So he's that kind of guy that you get the best out of him. But Klopp will have his Konate VVD partnership. I think like we did this on Friday night. Like 12 Man went through all his reasons for wanting Matip, and I went through my reasons for wanting Konate. And it was more that I'm second guessing Klopp here. I think he picks Konate because that's his preferred guy. that's the strengths that he wants. Like, you have to play this guy to get him into that scenario where he has enough games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't have Canate. It's like when Canate is fit, you play him because you need those games under his belt to be. Now he has 50, 60 games for Liverpool. And Matip is there as an excellent backup or a starter. Like, I'm happy. Like, I'd even wouldn't mind. We had to play 6 games with Gomez and Matip at centre half. I could see us keeping 5 clean sheets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, I think Canate is his guy, and that's the project. And I'm willing to stick with him. But another group of, he's out for a month, he's back for 6 weeks. He's out for a month, he's back for 6 weeks. That's more my worry with him. Let's get that kind of stuff out of the way. That, you know, I just think that's my main problem. He's still growing. He's so big. But yeah, he needs to stop. Yeah, I mean, he needs to stop relying on his pace and his power to think, I can go up here and make that tackle. And if I don't make it, I can get back and I can outmuscle the guy. He needs to be a little bit more clever in just playing the percentages a bit more.
Right.
And you only learn that by playing. Matip knows all that stuff now. What is he, 32, 33?
Yep.
He knows all that stuff. So I'm happy. I'm happy with Canate. I think he's an absolute beast. Like I said, look at the list of players he gets in headed for France.
Yeah.
This guy has all the ability. So I think.
And the crazy thing is, he does play much better when he's with France. That's why kind of annoying me a little bit. When he was with France, he's way more calmer. He doesn't give that much fouls. So this one, I don't know why. I think he's trying too hard with Liverpool, and he needs to.
That's always an issue. That's always potential. The players are just trying too hard to impress and too hard to, you know, push their case forward. Just needs to be calm. Central defenders always just need to be calm first and foremost.
That's all you need to do.
And let the rest take care of itself.
Yeah.
To be fair to Konate, though, when you speak about, again, his international play as opposed to his club play, a lot of players that he's playing with in international are players he grew up with. You know, they're players that speak his same language. They're players that, you know, culturally they understand a lot of the things. Those things are important. I'm not saying that doesn't exactly completely exist in Liverpool with some cases, but I would say that it does make somewhat of a difference when.
Of course it does. Players love going back. Yeah, players will tell you they love going back to their country.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to bring up Pogba as an example. Pogba is an exceptional player, you know, and when he played for Manchester United or where he's playing Juventus, you know, it is what it was. He's one of the world best. But yet when he went home to France, he became a different level player. He became a more reserved, more comfortable, more comfortable player in his surroundings type player. And that's what I think you see with Konate. And I also say that Konate is young enough that he's still growing into his body, and that, you know, he'll start to. I know people are saying clumsy. Usually, that's you end up being clumsy when you are young.
Yeah,
he's still growing.
No, but he's massive. The guy is absolutely massive.
He's huge.
Like, he's not just big. He's not footballer big. This guy is
basketball
boxer big. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, guess what? He looks a bit clumsy sometimes. So would you be if you were 6'4" and 6 foot wide and running around after a ball? Like, you know, come on, the guy is a unit. Like, so he looks a bit clumsy on the ball. Well, you know, of course he does. Ball is like a golf ball beside him.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining today. Quincy Bowl, you know, with the barbershop settings, we had 12-man, Brian and G stopped by. People in the chat, we had K-Mac, Mile High Hotspur. Check them out. They have a great channel out there. But I'm still hurting, so I haven't gone back to them yet. Jamie was in the building. Alexander was here. Paul, Redbird stopped by earlier. He said we'll catch up later. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Please go to 12-man. He has a channel. And then Brian, you could find Brian on
Sideline Football.
Sideline Football show. Yeah. Very great show. They talk Liverpool as always. Thank you so much. Gracie Bowl, 12 man, Brian G, who was here earlier. Peace.